All right, hey guys. So already two people in. If you guys can, I'm gonna watch the chat here, kind of follow some comments. Let me know if you guys can hear and see okay. All right. So can you guys hear and see me okay at this point right now? Somebody just send a quick comment or something, and then hopefully we can get going. I'm just waiting for. I think Nick's gonna be. All right, so perfect. So Tom, Nick, how are you guys doing? Good, good. OJ, thanks, man. I appreciate it. All right, so James, how's it going? Thanks, man. Your samples are coming. I promise. I promise. So. Oh, that's nice. Tom ordered pizza for everybody. So I don't know. I'm waiting for one of the guys from Reservoir Distillery to hop in. So they're going to do kind of something similar to what I did last time with one of the live chats. So then that way they can kind of fill us in with any product information, anything along those lines. So so that'll be kind of nice. So yeah, so Tom, this is going to be eventually the wall behind me is going to be filled with, I guess, bottles of bourbon, so to speak. So I'm really looking forward to that as well. So and thanks for dropping in. I appreciate it. So. All right, so I guess we'll get going. Hopefully, once one of the guys from Reservoir hops in, hopefully he'll let us know. So, are any of you familiar with Reservoir Distillery at all? They're a company out of Richmond, Virginia. So, okay, good. There we are. So pretty official. Reservoir Distillery. Nick. Appreciate you kind of jumping in here. So, like I was saying before to some of the guys that are on here right now, hopefully, if they have any questions for you, or if you have anything else that you want to kind of jump in with, feel free to do so. So I like to kind of interact as much as possible. If there's anything, like I said, regarding any of the products or something that I miss, or anything that you want to add. Like I said, feel free to jump in. So a little bit of kind of just general information in terms of what the guys at Reservoir sent to me. It was 4 different samples. Now, the nice part about these, it's a little bit kind of unique and different. Their products are, so this is going to be, and I'm kind of going in the order of the spec sheets that they have in terms of how they would kind of go through a tasting. So we'll start out with eventually the wheat, then we'll go to the bourbon, and then we'll go to the rye whiskey, and then there's a different kind of blend. It's not just one of their standard lines. So and again, so Nick, if there's anything that you want me to do in particular, then we'll go ahead and we'll do that. But yeah, so just a little bit of information. I guess we'll kind of back up here and give a little bit of information in terms of what these products essentially are. So the distillery itself is, again, out of Richmond, Virginia. There's more than just these 4 lines that they have. There's one other one that's more of a specialty line. And again, Nick, you can kind of correct me if I'm wrong there. But so a little bit of information. So the wheat whiskey, actually all of their expressions except for this final one that we'll do at the end, are all 100% the particular grain mash bill. So for instance, we'll start with eventually the rye. Again, it's going to be 100%, or excuse me, the wheat. We'll start with that. This is going to be a 100% wheat mash bill. Then we'll go to the bourbon, so we're going to have 100% corn. Then we'll go to the rye, again, a 100% rye mash bill. So something that's fairly unique. You hear a lot more of single malts and those types of things, but that usually has a lot to do with malted barley, so single malts and all of that. So a little bit on the kind of different scale here. So why don't we, if you guys are ready, maybe I'll check out a little bit of the chat. So guys, thanks for popping in. Swami, Daniel, thanks, appreciate it, guys. So again, this is just for anybody who's kind of just jumping in now. Reservoir Distillery. We're going to be doing the wheat whiskey, the bourbon, and the rye, and then finally the Hunter and Scott. So why don't we go ahead and get into any of that? So, all right, so that's good to know. So I'm glad to see that you guys are doing a little bit more of the distribution outside of Virginia. Nick, outside of Virginia, where are you guys distributing to, just so that some of the guys in the chat, in the event that they want to look for some of your stuff, they can do so, or if they can get that. So all right, so let's go ahead and we'll kind of get into a little bit of this. I've got some water here. That's probably going to be a little bit more just for me to kind of cleanse my palate a little bit, but I may add a drop or two. These are all going to be in the 100 proof category. So let me again start with this. So this is specifically their 100% wheated bourbon, or excuse me, wheated whiskey. So again, we're talking about a full 100% wheat mash bill, bottled at 100 proof or 50% ABV. So let's go ahead and we'll get into this. So yeah, right up front, you get a lot of kind of like a sweet cherry, that kind of soft doughiness that you'd get from a wheat. Real kind of like florally. There's definitely some honey there. A little bit of oak. Nick, one thing I didn't see was in terms of the some of the ages on these. Going through some of the information, I did notice that maybe most or some were removed from the barrel at approximately 2 years old. So maybe you can kind of confirm that we're talking about at least something that's approximately 2 years old. Yeah, but really, really nice and sweet, florally. A little bit of kind of a light kind of caramel note to that as well. Really, really nice nose to that, but sweet and soft, I would say. Let's try this. So yeah, right up front you get hit with a little bit of the heat right away. That kind of settles back into the back of the palate, a little bit of the back of the throat. Lets you know we're dealing with a 100 proofer for sure. Again, very sweet. You definitely get that soft wheat to it for sure. That's right there up front. That sweet kind of caramel and honey is there. It's fairly viscous. It wants to coat the palate really nicely. Yeah, just a really, really nice bourbon, or excuse me, wheated whiskey. Definitely the wheat, the honey, the caramel, those are for sure there. I like the soft wheatness or wheat of that. Really kind of sits there on the palate. The longer it kind of sits there, you start to get more of a like a zest, like maybe a orange peel, something along those lines. But really nice and sweet, florally or floral. Fantastic. And I don't know, I didn't see like in the chat or not, but is this a minimum of 2 years, or is this older than 2 years? Really, okay, so 2 years as the max. I would for sure, if I was just guessing without knowing exactly what the age or anything was, I'd say definitely older than 2 years. It doesn't drink like a 2 year whiskey at all. I mean, it's really nice and smooth, velvety, sweet, really good flavor for the most part. I think they've done a fantastic job. And I believe this is all, I don't think any of this is sourced. I think this is all produced and aged, I believe, at the distillery. And Nick, you can correct me if I'm wrong there. So, but yeah, really nice. The finish, definitely on the medium side with this. But yeah, just really nice and floral. Kind of pick up a even a like a slight chocolate note to that as well, which is really something interesting that I don't get all the time. So okay, good. Never sourced. That's good to know. I mean, sometimes, and I'm probably not telling you anything, Nick, that you don't already know, but sometimes just getting through the transparency of whiskey can be very difficult, as you guys all know. I mean, there's not a lot of people who want to always tell you where everything comes from, who makes it, all of that. So I really appreciate when there are companies who, like yours, don't have a problem with producing their own stuff, not indicating that it's, not a sourced, whiskey, that we're producing it. So fantastic job so far with the wheat. Definitely I mean, I would say for a sipping whiskey being 100% wheat, I mean, it's fantastic. It really is a good whiskey, something that would be perfect to sip on. Now, maybe even from a cocktail standpoint, something that would maybe be good in a sweeter type of cocktail, something along those lines. But anyway, I wouldn't bother with cocktails. I would sip on this neat all day long. So fantastic job. So let me finish that. So let's go back here and just check some of the chat here real quick. Yeah, so I'm just kind of going back through, and I saw, Nick, where you had mentioned some of the, like an orange rind. I was picking up some of that orange, that sweet orange, like the zest of that as well. Fantastic. Yeah, and I did notice one of the other things too, and I don't know if this is true about all of the whiskey that you have aging, but that these were all kind of produced in smaller, maybe 5 gallon barrels, so that we know that that's going to enhance some of the aging of that as well. So it can give you a good indication, or start to move the whiskeys forward in the aging process. The whiskey is essentially touching the barrels in a smaller amount, so you're getting a lot of more absorption and contraction in and out of the barrel. So, Virginia, you're getting some hot and cold days as well. So anyway, so let's go ahead. We'll move on to, I've got a little bit of that one left, but we'll go ahead and actually we'll leave that right there. So, all right, so now we're going to go on to the actual bourbon. And again, so we're now talking about a 100 proof, 100% corn mash bill. So another relatively unique process. And that was one of the things that was very intriguing. So I reached out to them. They were nice enough to send me some samples. I was very interested to do a review of these simply for the fact that you don't run into a lot of single grain whiskeys outside of barley, where it's a single malt, or you start to get into the world of scotches and things along those lines. But when you're dealing with a 100% mash bill of whatever the particular grain is, to me it was very, very interesting and unique. So I was glad that they were able to send me a few of these and let me do a really nice review. So far the wheat whiskey, I would say they've hit a home run with that. That's fantastic. So, alrighty. So, and I do have a few of the spec sheets here that I wanted to kind of print just to make sure that I was kind of going over and getting some of the information correct. All right. So again, we're talking about a 100% corn mash bill. 100 proof, 50% ABV. Oh boy. So right away you're hit with a lot of caramel on this. Quite a bit of butterscotch is there. Still kind of the typical vanilla. So these is some of the standard bourbon notes that I'm getting right now. But the interesting part is I'm getting a lot more of the standard bourbon notes in a product that's 100% corn. So that's kind of unique in itself. Yeah, definitely the vanilla, the caramel. And I thought I would pick up a little bit more graininess or corn from this, but not really. I do get a little bit of corn there, but not what I expected. But definitely vanilla, caramel. You do get the corn, but so, and I guess, correct me if I'm wrong. So again, I'm going to assume at this point that this is another approximately 2-year bourbon. So I guess Nick just let me know that. Okay, good. So that was correct. Boy, oh boy, that's really, really nice. So I'm getting right up front, you get hit with a lot of caramel. One other thing I'm kind of getting a note of is, this may sound a little weird, but like a sweet, like kind of Coca-Cola almost. It's I've gotten it a couple other times on some things, but not very often. But I get kind of a sweet, like, Coca-Cola or Pepsi, something along those lines. A little bit of like a nuttiness as well to it. Very, very like full-bodied. I would say with the corn, or excuse me, with the 100% corn mash bill, I am actually getting a little less heat than I was from the wheat. Now, for whatever reason, when I'm tasting regular standard like corn versus a wheat-based, let's just call it bourbon, I tend to get a little more heat out of wheat. I don't know exactly why that is, but I kind of pick up a little bit more of the heat, and I don't know exactly why, but. Yeah, Tom, funny guy. Heat from the wheat neat. That's exactly it. You're 100% correct. But no, I would say with this, you're definitely getting a little bit of the corn that's there. The oak is there. A little bit on the drier side. So once you kind of finish, makes you want to kind of go back and maybe have another sip or something. You know, let's try. I'm going to try with just a drop of water in this. I want to see what. Let's do 3 little drops. Okay. So let's see what that does to it. I'm going to go back to the nose on this, see if that. Oh, okay. So adding a little bit of water for me on the nose is tending to bring out a little bit more of the corn presence there for sure. So yeah, I'm picking up a lot more corn than I was before when I was just sipping it neat, but let's try to see if what the water did to the bourbon. Yeah, not a lot as much on the palate part of it, but boy, oh boy, it's really good. Very little heat for 100 proof. And again, only, aged for 2 years. The one thing I'm not getting that I tend to get, or a lot of people get on young whiskey, is a real, like, kind of grain or a grassiness. Now, so far, both of these, I've gotten none of that from either one of them. So I think that's a tribute to, I guess, a couple things. Probably the products that they're using, the grain that they're using, and just the process of what they're doing to distill it. The quality of everything. You can really tell that they've put some time and effort into this, and aren't just trying to push something out there in order to keep the lights and stuff on. I mean, they've paid attention to quality for sure. So yeah, I mean, I can tell. So like Nick just said, throwing away a lot of the heads and tails. That's a big thing, because I mean, when you're keeping that as part of your product, it affects the flavor of whatever it is that you're producing. So, kudos to you guys by essentially keeping the best or the hearts of that product. I mean, it is for sure coming through in both of these so far. Now, I'm a bourbon guy, so I lean a little bit more towards the spiciness of bourbons. Usually, if there is rye, I'm not usually as big a fan of wheated whiskeys, just because they have a tendency to get a little bit on the sweet side. But I would have zero problem sitting down with that wheat whiskey that I had prior to the bourbon. So it's really fantastic. So I'm just kind of going through some of the chat part of it here. So Daniel, I wish you could have a drink as well, buddy. Hopefully we'll be able to hop on to a live stream here pretty soon as well. So Jason, thanks for hopping on, man. I really appreciate that. So there's a lot of good guys on here right now. So as most of all of you know, Jason Whiskey Wise, I mean, he's got his own channel, so go check him out. That's a fantastic job. He's got about 1 million different drams of things. I couldn't believe when I was watching some of his stuff not long ago how many things he has. I mean, he's got enough stuff there that he can do reviews of for years and years and probably doesn't have to buy another thing. But So I've learned a lot from watching Jason's videos. So all right, so that's another interesting thing, like Nick said, so that these are distilled twice. So you can tell. I mean, there is for sure quality in the production of what they're doing. So, sometimes, I guess I hate to use the word craft distilleries, but with a lot of them, there's more interest in pumping out product than there is always, the quality of whatever it is. So, I mean, kind of the adage of, quality over quantity for sure serves their purpose much better. I mean, I would take this stuff all day long over some things that I've had that even have more age. So, kudos to you guys, and I hope that some of the other people at Reservoir are able to see and hear this, because I mean, the guys that are producing everything there are really doing a fantastic job. So yeah, so it's a pretty cool process. I mean, everything that you keep kind of touching on, Nick, is top notch. So again, kudos to you guys. And again, I guess going back to this to the bourbon, and I hate to use the word smooth, but smooth, velvety. It's viscous. It lets you know that it is a 100 proofer. Doesn't have a lot of the heat. You can tell there's some proof to it though, but without the major heat. Again, sweet. You'd expect that from a 100% corn mash bill. So here's a question, I guess, for you, obviously, Nick. What was the reasoning behind the single grain mash bill, meaning the wheat and the bourbon and the rye? What was the thought process that, I guess allowed or made you guys decide to, produce an expression that was something along, those lines versus, we'll get into this at the end. Now this is a blend of different, different mash bill, but it's very unique and different with there being a kind of a single grain. So I'm interested to kind of know some of the thought process behind that, and taking just again a single grain and making a whiskey out of that. So Santa Cruz, and how's it going? I'm glad you could jump in. Appreciate it. So, alrighty. You know what I want to do? Let me do this. I'm going to go back to the wheat, if that's okay, and just give it one little drop there. That's not very much, but I want to see if that does anything. There's very little in there. Let me do this. So we had 2 drops in there. Boy, is that sweet. That is really sweet. I mean, you're really getting a kind of a wine type of sweetness on that wheat whiskey. Yeah, super soft, sweet, really, really easy to sip on, top notch. So fantastic job. Alrighty, so let me do this. Let's go to over to the rye. So for some people, 6:30 my time Central. What's everybody else drinking at this point right now? So maybe somebody's got some Reservoir. If you do, top notch. All right, so let's get into, so again, a little bit of information on this one. So again, this is their 100% rye whiskey. There are other people who do produce a 100%, but a lot of times you'll get into a 95.5, not necessarily 100 percent, but this is 100% rye. So something I'm really, really looking forward to. I like ryes, and this one I'm definitely going to try to add a little bit of water at some point just to kind of see how that holds up and if it does change anything. So again, 100% rye, 100 proof as well. And let's see what else we get here. So let's go through the nose, and I'm expecting this to be fairly spicy, something along those lines, of course, what you would expect from a rye. So right up front, you're getting a little bit of not as much as I thought, but you're getting a little bit of that kind of like the dill pickle type of nose to it. For sure, a great like sweet rye spice is there. Boy, still relatively sweet. I'm surprised as to the sweetness of all of these so far. There's a lot of sweetness coming through on the nose. Yeah, really, really nice kind of little bit of a kind of a peppery note. Yeah. I mean, you do get some sweetness from a kind of a floral or even what is that? Maybe a like orange. Like I'm also picking up orange as well. Boy, very very unique. Not as much of the dill as I would have thought, being a 100% rye. But let's go ahead and we'll try this now. Cheers, guys. Just a fantastic rye. Sweet, spicy, not a lot of heat. A little bit of that dill that's there. Peppery, sweet pepper. Yeah, really, really nice. You know, a little bit of that orange zest is still there. Sits on the back of the palate really, really nicely. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, you guys have done a fantastic job with these. And I guess, Nick, I'm assuming at this point, most of what I've tried right now are all in that 2-year range. So let me know that. I'd be interested, because none of these drink at all like a 2-year whiskey. I mean, none whatsoever. If you were drinking these and someone had them in front of me, I mean, some of the color that's there, and maybe that's a little bit of the attributed to them being in 5-gallon barrels, that it's moving in and out of these barrels a little bit more, so it's touching the barrel, the char, all of that a little bit more. So you have a tendency sometimes to pick up a little bit more color on a smaller barreled whiskey as well too. So okay, so all two years for the first 3. So that's pretty impressive, I would say. So fantastic. I mean, this is so far, I would say, in the order of how I would choose it, I'd probably start out with, I think I'd go in reverse order, honestly. I think I would start with the rye, go with the bourbon, and then finish with the wheat. Not that any of them are bad by any means. I just like the sweet spiciness of a rye or a bourbon, something along those lines. So, I mean, I was surprised to get a little bit more spice out of the 100% corn, thinking that maybe it was going to be a little bit on the really sweet side, or more along the lines of a kind of like a what you'd get with a single malt like barley or something, because barley can get awfully sweet as we know, and corn can get very sweet, but I didn't get a lot of the, you know, kind of barley-esque that I thought I was going to get with just it being a 100% wheated bourbon, or excuse me, a 100% corn based bourbon. So fantastic. But going back to the rye, I'm going to dump a couple of, let's just do 3 little drops and see what happens here. So what's everybody kind of talking about now? Okay, so interesting. Yeah, I can see why you like to build to the rye. I mean, to me, this is a lot more of the profile that I prefer. You go from the sweet to a little bit of, still sweet, and then you get hit with a really, really nice, buttery, spicy rye. I mean, I think it's a fantastic rye. So I may have to look a little bit to see if I can get a full bottle of this. I mean, this is fantastic. So let's see what the 3 little drops of water did. I think it just brings out a little bit more of the sweetness to that. Definitely wants to bring out a little bit more of the peppery rye spice, something that I really, really enjoy. Not a lot of the dill, kind of that kind of settled down a little bit, so to speak. It's there, but not as much as it was before I added the water. Now on the back of the palate, I still want to get a little bit of that kind of like orange peel, orange zest, something along those lines. That's really, really a fantastic rye. I would have to say so far, it's probably one of the better ryes that I've had in a long time. Now, just looking at some of the specs on the sheet, it looked like, according to Jim Murray's Whiskey Bible 2017, it got a 95.5 rating. So that's pretty top notch, and it has rated pretty high in silver, double gold. In 2012 it got a double gold at San Francisco, the World Spirits competition, and we all know that's about as big as it gets, at least in the United States, regarding the awards for particular categories and things along those lines. So I mean, just about everybody enters into the San Francisco competition. So kudos to you guys. And I mean, to taste this blind, I mean, it is a really, really impressive rye whiskey. So I would say, and after I'm done with the live stream, I will put a link to the distillery. So if you guys want to check that out, I'll have a couple of other things in there as well. One quick little plug, and I'll kind of leave this alone, but I did set up a kind of a PayPal donate type of link, I'll have that in the description below. So I don't want to beg or anything, but as everybody knows, it can get expensive sometimes, buying things and trying to do reviews of that kind of stuff. So if anybody feels like they want to help with any type of donation to the channel, I'll have a link to it in the description below. So anyway, back to the important stuff. So again, you guys have done one fantastic job so far with all of these products. Not one of them I would not want to have on my bar, which eventually behind me, like you see, there will be a several shelves, and I'll put a little bit of my bourbon. So I wanted to be able to have a really nice area to be able to do some reviews, some live streams, and so forth. So anyway, so let me do this. I'm having a hard time not wanting to just sit here and finish that. So yeah, so really, really fantastic. Geez, I don't even want to finish all of that just because I want a little bit of that around. So anyway, so I'm just going to, since I had that rye, I want to just take a little sip here. So I guess I'll take a little bit of a break here and just kind of go through some of the chat, see how everybody else is doing out there. So balcones, yeah, that's another one of the big ones. I believe that's they're out of Texas, I believe. So that's another interesting one. So all right, so what's Nick saying? So headed into the Hunter and Scott Bourbon. This is one of the much different approach. So I believe this was, from what I remember seeing, this was a 75% corn, 20% wheat, and I believe 5% rye is what I remember reading. So I guess, Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, but again, I think 70 corn, 25% wheat, and 5% rye. So I think I got that correct. So let's get into that. And this is so this is only 90 proof. So we're kind of backing down a little bit on this, and 90 proof. Now, Nick, on here it says 1714. I don't know so this is the Reservoir Hunter and Scott Bourbon, and it says 1714. I don't know if one is a batch in a year or what exactly that is. So what's up, Trout? Thanks for jumping in. I appreciate it, man. Yeah, so okay, so 75% corn, 20% wheat, 5% rye. So aged for about a year at 90, and it's about 90 proof. So all right, so this will be interesting. This is a little bit more of a, let's just call it a conventional mash bill. A little bit different from the standpoint that there's no malted barley at all in any of these. So interesting. So you get a little bit more of the corniness up front with this one. Boy, I'm picking up for sure some of the wheat in this one. I'm almost picking up, this is kind of odd, but I'm almost picking up more wheat in this than I was the 100% wheated whiskey. That's kind of interesting. I get I'm picking up the doughiness of what I would get in a conventional or a standard wheated whiskey. So, or excuse me, wheated bourbon. So I'm picking up that doughiness in there. Really nice and sweet as well. Yeah, so far the trend has been a really sweet nose on all of these. So yeah, a little bit of kind of a buttery, kind of a buttery note as well. So that's interesting. Little bit of heat there on the nose. It doesn't smell young at all. None of these smell young to me whatsoever. I'm not getting any of that grass or that hay note that I get with a lot of like young whiskeys. So Interesting. Let's give this a try. Cheers, guys. Okay. So with this, I'm getting really that kind of a like a nutty butter sweetness. The corn is starting to kind of come through a little bit more. Very little heat. You get a little bit of heat or tingle on the kind of the mid palate that's there. Boy, really, really interesting. I mean, you guys have done a really, really good job with these. The corniness is there in a good way, kind of like a sweet cream corn to this. A little bit of caramel, the vanilla, some nuttiness that's there still, kind of that buttery, not peanut butter or anything, but the more I taste it, maybe I've convinced myself, but it is a little bit on the peanut buttery kind of side. That's kind of interesting. That's not something I get all that often with bourbons, but really, really interesting. And it's a neat mixture of the corn, the wheat, and the rye. So really, really nice. Let's see what a little bit of, I want to put a little more in here, and then we'll add a little more water to that, or just add some water. See what we get here. Just do 3 drops. All right. Troy Scouts, appreciate you jumping in, man. Welsh Toro, thanks for being in here, man. You guys are all great. I appreciate you taking your time and jumping in here. And as always, Nick, thanks for not only the samples, but jumping in here and answering some questions, all of that. I appreciate it, and hopefully other guys do. Jason, how's it going? Thanks for stopping in. I know you've been in for a little while, but thanks again. I appreciate you guys. Daniel, I appreciate you always. All right, so what's Nick saying here about the Hunter and Scott? So Hunter and Scott was born of needing a competitively priced bourbon to put in. So with that being said, I think when I saw this, is this in the $35 or $40 range for the Hunter and Scott? Is that accurate? And if so, I would say that's a fantastic price point. I think it's one of those things, $38. So this is for $38. I've had a lot more, a lot worse whiskey, I can tell you, than that for $38. I mean, it is a really, really good bourbon, and 90 proof. I mean, it would be really good. And I hate to say necessarily for a beginner, just because, it only being 90 proof, but outside of that, it's something that, even the people who enjoy high proof bourbons, which I do, to sit back and sip on something like this, it's got a great flavor. It's unique. Everything seems to be a little bit just different. And I like that. It's different in a good way. So kudos to you guys. So let's see. So this is just with 3 drops of water. So let's see if this does anything. Just brings out some little extra sweetness. Definitely the corn is there, like again, like a sweet cream corn, like a candy corn. A little bit more on the butterscotchy side, for sure. A little bit more now on the butterscotch side. Yeah, and I mentioned before peanut butter, and it's one of those things I'm actually picking up like a like a peanut butter note there from the sweetness side of things. So very interesting. I'm really liking this bourbon. So, and I'll have to, and I didn't see, and I'll have to go back through some of the chat, but I guess a couple of things. I guess one question is, are you able to, in Virginia, to purchase this directly from you online, or does this have to be purchased from, a big box store or something along, those lines? Just because I'd love to have a few of these just in a bigger bottle, share some of this stuff. I mean, it really is good whiskey. I mean, you guys have done a great job. Really good, really good. I kind of want to go back to now that I've had some of these, just kind of go back through them and see what else I'm getting with some of this stuff. Yeah, Jason, I saw that you were part of was it more of a like a judging competition, or what exactly was that? I saw that you were doing something. I thought that was pretty interesting that you were part of that. So congrats on being part of that. So anyway, so let's go. I'm going to add a little bit more of so again, I'm going back to the beginning a little bit and just doing some of the weeded as well. So I want to go through these again a little bit just to see if there's anything else that I'm picking up after having some of the other stuff. Yeah, so with this, definitely, yeah, you can tell right away that this was a weeded whiskey. It's that soft doughiness that I pick up, even in just a weeded bourbon. But this is probably a little bit more advanced with it being, again, 100%, weeded mash bill. So. Man, just fantastic. I mean, it's just sweet and, buttery. That doughiness is coming through. Just a fantastic weeded whiskey. And you can tell that the time and the effort and the quality of whatever everything is that you're doing is top notch. So I need to somehow secure a few of the big bottles of these. So anyway, so let's go and so here's I guess I wanted to also bring up another point. So what I'd like to try to start doing is a few more of these, maybe on Thursdays probably not but Thursdays or Fridays, when some of the other guys aren't maybe doing the live streams, maybe kind of do some of those myself. So I really enjoy the live reviews. It's just something that's a little bit different. I like to do it rather than just sitting here and doing a review. I love to be able to interact with everybody. I wish I could read a little bit more of the comments. That's why I always go back after I'm done with this and read things and do all of that. So, but anyway, so yeah, so what I want to start doing is at least one review and maybe one live stream per week. So that way I can get a few things out there and, have a really good time with it. I enjoy the community. You guys are all a bunch of great guys. We all see a lot of each other in the chats and go back and forth. So, that's a big part of this whole thing for me, is being able to, have a good time with it, interact with people, get to drink a lot of great whiskeys, meet a lot of great people at these distilleries, and all of that. So, good old Gary Page, that's my dad. So everybody, give him a little congrats there for making it in. So I know he was out to dinner, so I'm glad you could to make it. What'd you do? Wolf down your food really quickly just to get in here? That's probably what it was. But anyway, so that's kind of the plan, is to maybe continue to build, grow the channel. Jason, Whiskey Wise, he's got a great channel. There's a lot of good guys. Daniel, Whiskey Throttle, go check him out. He's got a great channel. And between those two guys that I've mentioned, as you all know, have some fantastic whiskeys. I mean, these are, top-notch things. So, it is. You guys have some stuff that I'm super jealous of. So, look at that. So you mentioned one guy's name, and boom, look at everybody's getting all the my dad. That's funny. So anyway, I'm glad he could jump in here. So, anyway, so that's kind of the plan. But let's get back into this. So maybe for my dad and a couple of the other late people who've come in, just to kind of recap again a little bit. So these are all not all except for the final one, the Hunter and Scott. These are all 100% grain mash bills. So first was the wheat, so 100% wheat, bourbon, 100% corn, and rye, 100% rye. So it was super intriguing to me, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to be able to do a review of these. So I'll be looking for this stuff in the future. So anyway. So do any of you guys have any other reviews or live streams or any of that stuff coming up either tomorrow or this weekend, or I guess next week? I'm sure everybody will probably be releasing something. So I'm just kind of curious. So. Legend. I don't know about that. So. Yeah, I do need a screen in front. Then that way I can kind of pay attention like Scotch test dummies. So, yeah, where are those guys, by the way? And usually they, maybe Scott I thought would jump in here, but maybe not. But anyway, so we got some, doesn't matter. We have some heavy hitters and stuff in here right now anyway. So let's go on to the bourbon. I want to go back to this again again, I just had the wheat, and I want to try the bourbon again. I'm afraid to pour it all out because I want to keep some to be able to drink it. And with my dad being in here, good old Gary Page, I'd like for him to try some of these things and kind of see what he thinks. So I'm hoping to be able to get him in on one of these things, so he and I can maybe sit here and just kind of give our own different opinions of things. So I know sometimes he has a difficult time. I don't know, I guess nosing things or picking up certain things in bourbons, but I mean, everyone tastes things a little bit different, so I'm always interested to know what everybody else what everyone else tastes. That's the interesting part with with whiskey. There's really no, I mean, there is, but there really is no bad whiskey. If somebody enjoys something that's bad, or maybe what we think of as bad, well, to each their own. I mean, you drink whatever you drink, you like what you like, and it is what it is. So, I'm always interested to know, what people are drinking, what they taste, what they like. I mean, I've got a lot of bourbon and ryes, and I really, enjoy being able to share some of this stuff. I mean, I've got enough stuff that, I mean, I can't possibly go through all of this in a lifetime. So, but anyway, so let's try the bourbon again. So you definitely get with the bourbon. There's that for sure, that sweet corn presence that's kind of wanting to kind of come through there. Really nice. I mean, it's, for it being 100% corn, I wouldn't guess it, because I get a nice, I mean, I would almost call it like a rye spice. I mean, there's something interesting about that bourbon that, I mean, I couldn't believe this. Somebody didn't tell me, I wouldn't believe that this is a 100% corn based bourbon, essentially. I mean, it is really a really good bourbon. So I mean, I've had a lot of bourbon and a lot of rye, and it's really, really top notch. So what I'm interested or anxious to get back to is the rye. I remember with that, I mean, it was really fantastic. So all right, so what do we have going on in the chat? So what do we have here? So Daniel, you're going live tonight. With me. I wish I could. I've got the wife upstairs. I'm sure at some point I'll have to break away. But yeah, you can see my dad. He's got nothing going on. It's nice to be retired. So every day's Saturday. So somebody hit him up. Maybe you can get him to figure out how to jump on a channel or something and help him out or whatever. So give him something to do. All right. So what is next thing? Mix rye with the wheat. So hang on, let me go back. Did I miss something? So are you saying for the rye and the wheat? Okay, I guess let's see, 2 parts rye, 1 part wheat. So God, I'm I'm not wanting to mix that rye so much. I enjoy it just neat the way it is, and I would like to be able to give a little bit of this to my dad just so he can try some of this stuff. I don't want to like kill it that way, but I mean, it is really, really good. So what else do we have going on here in the chat? So yeah, like you said, it is for sure a benefit to single grains. I mean, this allows for you to be, I guess, adventurous from the standpoint of being able to try different combinations of things. And I think that's a bit of what the Hunter and Scott became, is a little bit of a proof down version of a few of these, considering that we're talking about 70% corn, 75% corn, 20% wheat, and 5% rye. So it's exactly what I've got here, just in a blend. So yeah, I mean, and just at a little bit lower proof, but all the others are 100 proof. But I mean, it is. I got to get back to the rye a little bit here. So I want to try just a little bit more of that. So I'll save a little bit more for my dad just to give him a little bit to try there. So, all right, so do it. I would love to. So, and James, I owe you some samples, my man. So it's coming. It's coming. I've finally been able to, for the most part, get the basement stuff, which is where I'm going to be doing everything now. And again, the wall behind me eventually will be what I'm calling my bourbon wall. It's about 9 feet high by about, oh, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 feet wide, something along those lines. So I'll eventually have shelves there with a nice bourbon display there. So that'll give a nice backdrop. So, and I wish a lot of you guys were closer because I'd love to have you over. That rye is fantastic. I mean, I have to say it's probably one of the better ryes I've had in a long time. Nick, I'm gonna have to talk to you about getting a bottle of that. That stuff is fantastic. So I would say for you guys, if you're able to get your hands on, let's just say any of this stuff, help them out. I mean, obviously it helps out, the distillery, but if specifically, if you can get your hands on that rye, you are going to be doing yourself a big favor. It's really, really a great rye. No, hands down, one of the better ones I've maybe ever had. So kudos to you guys. So James, so that's coming up real soon. So I don't know if I'm going to do, and maybe here's a good question for you guys. So James, he sent me a really, really healthy sample of the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof Batch C917, and I still have the 517, which was the whiskey of the year from Whiskey Advocate. So what I wanted to try to do was a side-by-side of the two to see if I was picking up much or any difference between the two. So that's going to be probably my next either review and or live stream. I'm not sure exactly which one I should do it as, if I just should do it as a regular review or as a live stream. I haven't decided yet, but that's probably coming up next. I've got a couple other things coming up pretty soon that I want to try to get out there for everybody as well. So anyway, yeah, this, going back to the rye here. What else we got? So the ABV, so my dad brought up a good point. So the first three here that you're seeing, they're all 100 proof or 50% ABV. And again, they're all, as we were talking the other day, single grain expression. So we've got, again, the 100% wheat, 100% corn, and 100% rye. So fantastic. The rye is good. I'm going to keep a little bit of the sample of these just for you to try as well. So I'd like for you to try these. But the rye is fantastic. So I'm going to go on to the 90 proof, the Hunter and Scott as well. So, and I saw before, Nick, when I was doing a little bit of kind of research and just looking through everything, there was one called Ghost something. So can you kind of explain what the deal with that is? And I guess aside from that, do you have anything that you either have now, meaning barrel proof, and or will you be considering doing anything that's barrel proof? Any of these would you consider doing as a barrel proof? And I did see that you also have like a barrel program, which I think is really cool, and one that I would love to be involved with, being able to pick or choose samples for from a barrel with a bunch of guys. So maybe all of us can talk a little bit or figure something out, but I'll tell you what, I would love to be involved in a barrel program with that distillery. So yeah, so 100 proof. All right, so Hollands Go. So I thought that. So what is are you able to say like what that whole process is, like a mash bill, or kind of what the thought process behind that is, and why that product kind of became? In the meantime, I'm going to try a little bit more of this. So again, this is the Hunter and Scott. So, and plus I saw the Hollands Ghost, like the bottle was really cool looking. So, all right, so the Hollands and Ghost. So 70% corn, 15% wheat, 15% rye, full aged in our barrels, then finished for about 6 months in a 53-gallon bourbon barrel that our buddies are Art and Craft Ales. Huh. All right. So interesting. So then it's finished in a stout stout beer barrel. Huh. Very, very interesting. So you're starting to see a little bit of kind of a reverse trend there, where now there is a bourbon that's being now aged back in a barrel that held a beer. So that's a very kind of interesting or unique type of process. So very cool. Yeah, so they dumped the beer and then we filled it. So yeah, that's a very cool process. So now you've got essentially a bourbon that's picking up a little bit of the flavor profile of a stout. I'm assuming. I think that's what it was. Craft ales aged in stout beer. Okay, so that's a unique way of kind of aging things. Is now you're picking up, because I mean a lot of the stouts, everybody, we're in a time where everybody is really enjoying the the barrel aged stouts, but now we're talking about taking a bourbon and putting it back into a barrel that once contained, stouts or whatever. So that's very, very unique. Yeah, that's a cool collaboration. I mean, to be able to do something like that, I'm sure you've got some, a craft distillery, by you that has some barrels that everybody, probably started out with yours. I'm assuming it was probably your bourbon that you gave to them, that they finished a stout in, that you then put your bourbon back into the barrel that contained not only bourbon but stout at one point. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, I've seen a little bit of that, not very much, but it's a cool way to start to bring out some different flavors overall in that. So that's pretty cool. So let's give the Hunter and Scott a try again. Well, I have to say, I mean, it's the Hunter and Scott is a fantastic bourbon, a unique flavor, sweet. You're getting that corn that's there still. Man, definitely, it's strange to be getting a peanut butter type of note. So very, very interesting. All right, so look at Whiskey Throttle. You got your PC running. So, all right. So I mean, we're into this for about an hour and 15 minutes. So, again, let me just kind of go over a little bit of the information, just to kind of recap everything, and I'll let everybody go. But Nick, again, thank you very much for being part of the chat. I very much appreciate that, as well as you guys sending the samples and everything to me. So again, we're going to do a little bit of the general information. So this was the 100% wheat whiskey. This was the 100% corn bourbon, and this was 100% rye, and this was the Hunter and Scott, which I don't believe is. I don't think it's always available. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but anyway, this was the Hunter and Scott. This was a 75% corn, 20% wheat, and 5% rye. So a really nice mash bill on that one. So yeah, if you guys have an opportunity to, check them out, buy something from them, whatever it may be. I mean, it is really a top-notch product. I mean, I'm not just saying that to say it. They've done a really nice job, and it's one that I will. Okay, good. So it is always available. So the Hunter and Scott is always available. So it's definitely something that I would love to have. Eventually behind the bar, on the wall, whatever it is. So if I see it, the bottle is really unique. More importantly, the juice inside the bottle is important. So just absolutely fantastic. So I guess with that being said, if does anybody have any questions for me? If not, I'll probably go ahead and end it. And I don't know, Daniel, do you want to send anything to me? I've got a little bit. Want to do a quick little live stream, maybe 30-45 minutes. I can do that. So thanks, Dad. So yeah, so I mean, really, with that being said, go ahead, check out the Reservoir Distillery, pick something up. You guys will very much appreciate it, and so on. So again, thanks, Nick, for the samples and hopping in the chat. I very much appreciate it. So I guess with that being said, we'll see you guys next time. Cheers.